Welcome back viewers, ladies, gentlemen, non-binaries and anyone with ears or other sound detection organs. Hope you enjoy. We are continuing with Going Native, written by Uncle Sealing. Going Native, Chapter 51. The drone banked smoothly, staying just under the cloud cover. It had been deployed from the purple zone in Albuquerque, its simple brain knowing that it had one job. Lock onto the coordinates of the omnipod belonging to Jessica White and follow. From Stace's little living room, Jelsi Chelza was directing the operation. While keeping Jessica alive was the top priority, there was a fantastic opportunity here. As Jelsi and Stace watched, the size of the organization that Jessica's father seemed to have contact with started to come into focus. While the little blue sports car was stopped at a red light, a pickup truck swung out in front of it in an attempt to box Jessica in. She saw it coming and, before the truck could get in position, that little car was shooting through the intersection. From the drone's view they couldn't hear the tires squeal, but twin lines of smoke followed the vehicle's departure. Jelsi called it in, and soon the omnipods of the people in the pickup were identified and another drone was following them. They are tracking her. Stace was watching the feed intently, not dividing his attention like Jelsi had to. They shouldn't even have known she has Daniel's car. As he watched, Jessica whipped around a corner in a controlled slide. An SUV that had been trying to run her off the road tried to follow her line and tipped over, rolling twice before coming to a stop on its side. Good, Jelsi said absently. Every time someone tries to stop her it's another lead to shut down whatever's going on out there. Not good. She could be killed. The rebuke in Stace's voice drew Jelsi's attention. I'm sorry. You're right. But as long as she keeps driving like she has been, I don't think they'll be able to catch her. Jelsi kicked herself the moment she said it. The goddess always had a way of punishing hubris. An older muscle car, puffs of exhaust smoke trailing it, pulled out behind Jessica and started gaining ground. They were slowed by the early evening traffic, the tiny blue car weaving through comfortably while the larger Detroit Steel had to force its way through tighter openings. Of course, they didn't actually have to catch Jessica. A passenger leaned out the window with a rifle and the shooting started. Jelsi noticed with alarm that it was a Shilvati weapon. Jel, they are going to kill her if they can get a clean shot. We have assets inbound but it's going to take too long. Use the drone. Stace's voice was cold and predatory. The little flying robot wasn't armed but it was fast. It accelerated the whole way in, almost managing to hit Mach 1 as it punched through the muscle car's roof. The camera feed went down. It's a little sad to lose a nice old car like that, but I'm not going to cry over the assholes inside it. Jelsi consulted her pad. New drone is in the air, but we don't have a visual yet. Tracking shows Jessica is still on the move. Hauling ass, too. Stace was starting to show stress, watching the little dot of Jessica moving on an overhead map. He was whispering something. Jelsi thought it might be a prayer, but once she leaned a little closer she almost had to laugh. Please, please, please don't wreck Daniel's car. The new drone view came online just in time to see Jessica ripping down an on-ramp onto the highway. She wove through other cars like a woman possessed and soon she had outpaced the city traffic and was on the open road. Jelsi continued to tap at her pad. We'll keep the drone on her. 8 targets are marked for pickup. Those Marines in Albuquerque are going to be busy for a while. Stace let out a breath slowly and started punching his finger at his omnipod. Jelsi watched out of the corner of her eye as he put it on speaker and placed the omnipod on the table, slugging back the rest of the drink abandoned there before leaning back into the couch and closing his eyes. Stace? What's going on? Eskel's voice was husky, thick with tears. Jessica is out of the city. It's pretty much a straight shot here and we have a drone following. If she keeps up the pace she'll be here in about an hour. There was a moment of silence on the other side of the line. It took me 2.5 hours to get here. You weren't going almost 300 kilometers an hour. What in the name of all the goddesses is she driving? A coffin if she doesn't slow down a little bit. Stace sighed. It's my husband's. Daniel's parents bought it for him as a birthday present and he loved to get it tuned and upgraded. We spent a lot of time tinkering together. After he died I had it put in storage. Figured I'd need something to drive once I'm more mobile and Daniel would have loved to see what modern tech could do, so I got Ella to sign off on having it overhauled. Well, thank you. I didn't know what to do. Askel let out a deep breath and some of the fear left his voice. I'm pretty sure you saved her life. Thank Jelsai. She has been talking to the Marines in Albuquerque and got some drones following her. She's also here and you're on speaker. I should probably have mentioned that before. Hey. Jelsai was distracted. There was a lot of work to do. She would have to hand this off, but first she had to vet Jessica White and make sure it was safe to bring her here. The fact that she worked at a hotel in the Purple Zone in Denver said a lot, but there was a chance that this was an elaborate scheme to get a spy on site and, if so, she wasn't going to fall for it. Oh, thank you Inspector Chelzer. It's fine. Busy. Askel's voice came out tiny. Sorry. Stace spoke back up, killing the awkward silence before it could fully form. Just grab Ella and a ride and get back here as soon as you can. I'll see if I can get the Sams to keep her company. Can't do that. If this is some sort of clever plan to get an assassin here, we can't let her near Sammy. They are too important. Jelsai sighed. Samuel is off-site with Keller's team and security is in the middle of a shake-up. She looked over at Stace. Up for entertaining another guest. Jelsai was completely unprepared for the sheer terror on her future husband's face. Samuel sipped at his coffee. It wasn't bad, really. He didn't have the sophisticated taste buds a lot of people seem to have for coffee. If it was hot and had plenty of cream and sugar, he was fine. The diner was in the middle of nowhere, though the people of Cairo, Illinois probably wouldn't like hearing that. The town had a bit of a boom in recent years as people fled the big cities and moved to places with less of a Shilvati presence. Many of the people here had never even seen one of the purple giants. Hey, Dave. The man slipped into the booth across from Samuel with a single smooth motion. Looking at him, the unusual man's body language made it seem like he had always been sitting there. Like Dave was a fixture at the place as much as the actual fixtures. It's good to see you, Sam. I was quite worried to get your message. Also, did you know there's a squad of Shilvati commandos watching this place? They are pretty good. Samuel nodded. They are Death's Head. With me. That earned Samuel a raised eyebrow. Did you know about the guys tailing you? That black work van? Yeah. They are, not with me. Dave flipped over the mug at his elbow and a woman appeared almost instantly to fill it with coffee. Want to sit here and watch the fireworks? Just like old times. Dave slipped a device that looked almost like an oversized blood glucose meter out of his pocket. He dipped a plastic strip into the coffee and put it in the machine's slot. After a moment, a pleasant green light verified the coffee hadn't been doctored and Dave took a sip with a grimace. I know it's safe and it still tastes like poison. I'm glad to see you haven't lost your paranoia. Samuel waved at the pocket the little device had vanished into. Having any problems with it? No, you do excellent work. It has saved my life twice in the last 4 years. Dave's smile was pleasant, but his eyes were hard. Which has caused some problems for other people. I can imagine it has. Samuel sighed. You know I hate all this shit. It's okay. Honestly, Your message has done me a huge favor. Learning about Elent, I mean. Another sip of coffee, another grimace. Some of the big-name weapon suppliers went missing just before she fled the planet. Knowing the details has helped me make some inroads with other people. How missing are we talking? Whole families gone. Houses burned. Someone trying to tie up all their loose ends in a hurry. Damn. She tried to do the same thing to a friend of mine. He came in contact with one of her thugs, didn't even speak a word with her, and the bitch tried to have him killed. Dave nodded. Very unprofessional. Messy. Samuel groaned and put his head in his hands. I really tried to stay out of this, you know. A hand came across the table, patted Samuel on the shoulder. I know. Unfortunately, problems always gravitate towards people like us. You can fight the pull or ride the wave. You kinda broke the metaphor there. Well, maybe not. Gravitational waves are a thing. That did remind Samuel of something, though. Did you hear Sammy bought a spaceship? The unflappable career spy coughed a sip of coffee all over the table in surprise. With phase capable, yes. Can I? Dave seemed to be collecting his thoughts, feeling shy for the first time in probably decades. Of course. Just let me know when you're free. Who didn't want to go to space? Dave glanced out the window and grinned. Oh, here's the van. The pair sipped their coffee and watched as an industrial black van sped into the parking lot, braking hard. The side door opened and 4 men in body armor carrying rifles jumped out, then promptly collapsed as Keller's squad blasted them all with simultaneous stun rifle fire. The van tried to speed away and a flash of ionized air showed where a full-power laser blast punched a hole in the engine block. The van stalled, then slowed to a halt, and the driver put his hands on his head. Sam let out a quiet chuckle as an armored Shilvati vehicle came around from a building across the street. Commandos appeared out of nowhere, threw the stunned bodies in the back, collected the weapons and compliant driver, and promptly drove off. Soon the only evidence that anything happened was an abandoned van in the middle of the parking lot. Nobody else in the diner even seemed to have noticed the events outside. This sort of thing has gotten a lot quieter over the years. Yes. Your team really took a lot of the fun out of it. Dave slid his empty coffee cup to the edge of the table and soon enough it was refilled. The scanner came out again and it tested clean. The next sip raised the man's eyebrows. Really? All your fancy craftwork and you didn't notice she poured you decaf the first time? She did. Yeah. Orange handle. Dave shook his head. That's probably my sign that I should find a place to bed down. I haven't slept in a few days and if I'm not noticing stuff like that then who knows what else I'm missing? He reached into his jacket and pulled out a thick manila envelope secured with a red string. Here's everything I was able to find. That's a lot of paper. Elent wasn't nearly as discreet as she thought she was. Dave took another sip. Or I'm just that good. Samuel reached into a bag next to him and put a model of a highly modified Japanese World War II battleship on the table. It seemed heavy for its size and made a solid thump against the well-weathered laminate tabletop. Is that the Yamato? Yeah. Sammy's idea. Bullshit. Fine, our idea. Sam stretched, his neck popping audibly. Mind if I ask what you're going to do with it? You need 250,000 credits in Shilvati tech to make a copy and even then it's basically a fancy laser pointer. It's not that I can make it. It's that I have it. The right kind of people will see that I have the right kind of connections. Dave tucked the model into his coat and stood up. And with that I should go. Well, thanks again. Sorry to have involved you in this. You'll make it up to me. I've always wanted to see Saturn. Aang watched with interest as the little blue car wound up the mountain road to the hotel. It was cute, and Aang had never seen a vehicle that seemed to be made to be as masculine as possible. It was the perfect guy's night out car, with a perfect excuse built in. Sorry girls, you wouldn't fit in my car and I can't leave it here because it's too adorable. It pulled up to the hotel and stopped sharply, the whole car rocking. The human stepped out, breathing hard from her journey as if she ran whole way. She had been searched at the security cordon, but even after that she seemed to be just shy of panic. She was about Aang's height and had light but healthy skin, darker than Samuel's pale white but nowhere close to Sammy's complexion, with fairly angular face and large dark eyes. Her dark brown hair was frazzled and all over the place, clothing disheveled. Jessica White? My name is Aang Elbruck. I'm the business manager here, for whatever that's worth. Welcome to the Painter Observatory and Hotel Complex. She stood there, face red, eyes bloodshot from crying. The poor girl looked completely lost. Aang opened his arms and the woman collapsed onto him in a hug. As Jessica sobbed, Aang carefully wrapped his arms around her. He rubbed her back gently and tried not to think about the fact that she was getting snot on a 500-credit jacket. He had to remind himself that human females were surprisingly masculine and he should treat her as such. Come on, let's get you out of the cold. The human followed Aang obediently as they made their way into the hotel, through the medical wing, and entered Stace's apartment. He was alone in his small living room, sitting at his writing desk and working on some sort of drawing. The Shilvati noted with interest that Stace had taped a piece of paper down to the desk and was using both hands as he drew, holding the pen in his right and using his left to hold the arm steady. It was an unusual technique but seemed to be working. Stace? Jessica is here. Stace spun his wheelchair around and gave her a friendly smile. Glad you could make it. How did Daniel's car hold up? Jessica strode through the room just shy of a run and wrapped her arms around Stace. Shit, he was starting to lock up. Aang followed and grabbed Stace's hand in both of his, rubbing it gently. Stace started to relax into the hug. Eventually, Jessica pulled back and stood up straight. I'm sorry. I should have asked first, but it's okay. I can understand needing a hug. He gestured to the couch. Take a seat and I'll bring you a drink. Askel should be back in an hour or so. Do you have any preferences? Jessica flumped onto the couch. Something strong. Make me something too. Aang plopped himself down next to Jessica. He could keep her comfortable and be a safety barrier for Stace. He turned to the woman. You don't need to worry, you're safe here. We have a 24-woman commando team on site and constant aerial surveillance. Stace returned, 3 glasses on a small tray on his lap. 2 were full of ice with a few centimeters of a dark liquid and the other was a shallow glass with a long stem and a cloudy white fluid. A yellow fruit disc decorated the rim. Old-fashioned for us, lemon drop martini for you, Stace remarked, handing Aang the tall glass. I could drink the same thing you are. Aang sniffed at the drink carefully. It smelled sweet and acidic. I know you could, but I don't think you'd like it as much. You can always try mine. Stace took a sip of his own drink and let out a sigh. Jessica did the same, though it was a significantly larger sip. I need to thank you, Mr. Grant. Jessica took a moment to steady her nerves. I don't think I could have gotten away without your help. First off, call me Stace. Everyone does. Second, I'm not about to let a bunch of bigoted assholes hurt anybody. You just saved me from having to get a ride down there and start kicking ass myself. He took another drink and knowingly looked at his missing leg. Well, maybe not kicking. I'd figure something out. This was going remarkably well. Stace actually managing to have a conversation with a stranger was a bit of a surprise. The strain was visible in his posture and body language, but it was doubtful anybody who didn't know Stace well would be able to notice. Ian took a sip of his drink and felt his eyebrows raise. It was tart, but there was a sweetness that balanced it well. There were sugar crystals around the rim of the glass that added a second touch of sweetness and a nice texture contrast. It was also remarkably strong. Stace chose the drink perfectly. That car is amazing, by the way. I just realized that I didn't answer your question. Jessica took another sip of her old-fashioned. God, I needed this. I don't think everything has really sunk in yet. Stace nodded. It'll hurt when it does, but you will make it through. If you need someone to talk to, just let me know. Ian was impressed. Stace really did seem to be keeping it together. I appreciate it, really. I will try to stay out of your way and get out of your hair as soon as possible. Ian decided to butt in. You don't have to. We have a lot of space. 15 or so spare rooms including 3 suites. 2 suites. Ian looked over to look at Stace, noticing the uncharacteristic blush, the averted eyes. Jelsi claimed one so she can visit more often. It looked like they had a conversation in their future. Ian thought it over. You probably shouldn't take one of the suites, then. Unless you want to be a couple doors down from an interior agent. Jessica shuddered. No thanks. She's good people. Stace shrugged. Fuck. I have no idea what I'm going to do. I can't go back to Albuquerque, I can't go to Denver. Jessica sniffed, then took another slug from her drink. Most of it was gone at this point. I don't even have a change of clothes. I think Eskel still has some of your clothes and Stace is an excellent tailor if you want something custom. Ian grinned at Stace and watched the man smile nervously back. Really? Jessica looked Stace over. Stace shrugged. I grew up pretty poor. It was a lot easier to get clothes if you could grab anything and make it fit. Stace can do pretty much everything. He shrugged. I just have a lot of hobbies. Still, all my plans are gone. Just like that. Jessica finished her drink. All because my dad is a fucking asshole. There are always other paths. More to do. Stace stretched. Besides, you're young. Plenty of time to get your feet under you. And we'll help, Ian added. He decided that he liked Jessica. The fact that she didn't seem to blame Eskel for her situation meant a lot. It would have been an easy direction to go. You will. Stace smiled pleasantly at her. How could we not? End of chapter. If you enjoyed, like, subscribe, click the bell so you don't miss any episode and do all the other YouTube stuff, visit and support the author, and I'll see you next time. If you didn't enjoy, comment on what I can do better. And as usual, have a wonderful day.